Easy Explain Cartesianism, Meditations on First Philosophy, Second Meditation. So this second meditation is going to receive the title of On the Nature of the Human Mind and How It is Better Known Than the Body by Descartes. So here we're really going to start looking at this clear distinction that Descartes setting up between the mind and the body, how they are clearly distinct entities, and how and why he believes that, how he's coming to those conclusions. So let's start with a statement from Descartes on the mind. And Descartes says, after considering everything very thoroughly, I must finally conclude that this proposition, I am, I exist, is necessarily true whenever it is put forward by me or conceived in my mind. So this goes back to the big famous quote by Descartes of cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. And he's connecting this to the mind, right? He is the mind. Descartes is the mind. We are the mind. The mind is our essence. It is who we are. It is our existence. And he's thinking that that's a very clear and distinct idea of his that really can't be doubted. That's one thing he's really locking into here. And let's look at that compared to the body. Descartes also has some claims on the body here. So let's look and see what he says about that. So Descartes says, by a body I understand whatever has a determinable shape and definable location, can occupy space in such a way as to exclude any other body. It can be perceived by touch, sight, hearing, taste, or smell, and can be moved in various ways, not by itself, by whatever else comes into contact with it. So here Descartes is defining the body as essentially matter, right? A material thing, a corporeal thing. It takes up space, it has dimensions. It abides by the laws of cause and effect and the laws of motion as far as matter is concerned. And this is a characteristic that Descartes is going to call extension. It is an extended thing. It has dimensions. It takes up physical space. And we can also perceive it through our senses. We can experience bodies through our sense perceptions, which he's going to say can't be trusted. And for this, he uses a very famous example, the wax example. He uses the wax as an external body example, and why maybe we can't trust our senses when we're perceiving bodies. So let's take a look at this example. I broke it up into a few parts here. So for starters, let us take, for example, this piece of wax. It's just been taken from the honeycomb. It has not yet quite lost the taste of the honey. It retains some of the scent of the flowers from which it was gathered. Its color, shape, and size are plain to see. It is hard, cold, and can be handled without difficulty. If you rap it with your knuckle, it makes a sound. In short, it has everything which appears necessary to enable a body to be known as distinctly as possible. Or so we would think, right? This wax is an example of an exterior body. But even as I speak, I put the wax by the fire and look. The residual taste is eliminated, the smell goes away, the color changes, the shape is lost, the size increases, it becomes liquid and hot, and you can hardly touch it, and if you strike it, it no longer makes a sound. But does the same wax remain? It must be admitted that it does. No one denies it, no one thinks otherwise. So what was it in the wax that I understood with such distinctness? Evidently, none of the features which I arrived at by means of the senses, for whatever came under taste, smell, sight, touch, or hearing has now altered, yet the wax remains. So this example of wax that Descartes is using to set us up with doubting bodies, having some doubt over bodies. He's making the argument that we would all agree that the wax is still wax even after it melts, that this is an idea that we have in our intellect, in our minds, that we cannot doubt, but based on the wax that we're perceiving with our senses, that we're experiencing this wax, it's changing, and maybe we should doubt our senses because our sense perception of the wax is changing. So let's look at his conclusion here, the conclusion he has at the end of the second meditation. I know now that even bodies are not strictly perceived by the senses or the faculty of imagination, but by the intellect alone, by the mind, our natural internal reason. And that this perception derives not from their being touched or seen, but from their being understood, understanding being of the mind. And in view of this, I know plainly that I can achieve an easier and more evident perception of my own mind than of anything else. So ultimately, in the second meditation, we're really leaning into the mind as being something we cannot doubt, and bodies as being something we can doubt due to our sense perceptions. And therefore, they're also very distinct things, minds and bodies. So for now, I hope this helps.